Where was he? What were we talking about?
Oh, just I mean, if you wanted to talk about how you received your Purple Heart, I mean, it's on
Oh,
you.
yeah. So what's it called? The Brown Zone is historically known as a what's it called? Especially like where we were building 2A, which is actually that's pretty hilarious that we got blown up at building 2A. But the Brown Zone is just historically known as what's it called? Like ambush points for the local insurgents.
I
And
think that was consistent the entire time we
it,
were there
it
too.
was it was and mine for both the last times, both of my deployments there was consistently a an ambush point, especially the area around Nole and around Patrol Base Samu, because those at the time like those compounds were abandoned, so there were no local for the most part there were no locals living in the immediate area east of Amu, um, and so at the time like we would push out local security patrols, double check. We would push out local security patrols around like the brown zone. Um, I don't remember how many IEDs we found. I was literally there for like all of like 3 weeks. And we so like to what's it called? Make a long story short, we were basically we had taken contact. We had taken contact for building 2-8 at some point or another. I think the day before or earlier that day. So we, I think it was the day before. I think another squad had taken contact coming back into Patrol Base Mill, and then so we sent out. And I'm not gonna what's it called? Hit exactly like why we went back out there to building 2-8. That's not my place to kind of like make that judgment. I'll leave that to like the squad leaders and the staff NCOs who made that
Are you
decision.
what did you like disagree with the fact that you went there?
So like that was like one of the things that what 3-5 we do what we call like a rip, like it's a relief in place. And in that brief, they were like, "Hey, like, don't go in the brown zone. If you go in the brown zone, know that they fucking if you, obviously like if you find one ID, there's gonna be a secondary. Find a secondary, tertiary, so forth and so on." They were like, "Don't go in the brown zone. Don't clear buildings in the brown zone." I remember that vividly. They were like, "Don't fucking clear buildings in the brown zone. It's an ambush." Or like there's an ID there. Like that was like one of the big things is like don't clear buildings in the brown zone. Um, and that's exactly what we did. And I'm not entirely sure like what the main mission was or what the objective was to go back there after we got shot at. But we went back there, and then so at the time uh, I was attached to Bo's team, and so Bo's fire team. I
Is
think
this
Bo was one of my what's it called? Bo was one of my Marines, and he was my team leader, and we were all like best friends because we initially were all in what's it called? We were all in Kilgore squad, so third platoon. But then once we got into in country, they split us up, and then Bo became team leader. I think he was second. No, I think Bo was either second or third fire team leader for fourth squad.
is he a corporal?
No, he was a lance corporal. So that was like one of the other things too. Like so, like here now, like I know the Marine Corps, you can't be like a what's it called, a squad leader or like a team leader without being a corporal, especially in the infantry now. Going to Afghanistan, like it wasn't unheard of to have like lance corporal team leaders or even fucking what's it called, like corporal squad leaders. So Lance Corporal Bo was my team leader going in, but at the time, like we basically we set up security around building 2-8, and then we were, I guess, like investigating like known firing points around the area. Um, so we made entrance into one of them. So Scupion, who was one of our 51s, him and Shaw basically they had like a line charge, set up a line charge, and created like our own entrance, our own like breaching point onto one side of the building, cleared one side of building 2-8.
So real quick for people that don't know, the buildings in Afghanistan are all like
Mud.
solid mud.
Yeah.
These guys
But
make
so
their own mud bricks out in the sun. They make a mud wall and then they cover it in a mud coating. So these walls are like impervious to
yeah,
like or impervious, whatever the word
they're
is.
like they're dense. They're real
Yeah, if
dense.
you shot it with a 50 cal, it's not
It
going
was
through that
not going
wall.
through.
So
Yeah, so
so
they
you used a breaching charge, which is a C4
C4, yeah.
charge, to create your own hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And why? Why would you do that?
So the idea behind that is like you don't want to go through known entrance points, which is like kind of like the well, I'll get into that here in a second because that's how we got blown up. But you don't want to go through like already like established breaching points, because what will happen is like the local insurgents will backlay IEDs. So if you breach an area and they know that you would more than likely go back, they would backlay IEDs. They'd call what you call like doormat IEDs, and then they'd set up what's it called? They'd set up not firing points, but they'd set up ambushes at those specific areas, and then from there they'll backlay IEDs and then expect you to come through that. So basically like that human idea of like going through the path of like least resistance, right? So like that was like one of the things we would never do, or that was one of like our SOPs, was that you would take the path of most resistance to what's it called, initiate those, or to move through an area, whether or not you're clear or trying to clear a wadi or clear a building.
It's similar to changing up your like patrol routes every time. Yeah. That way you're not going down the same road every day and eventually stepping on a charge. So
yeah. So we cleared our own entrance into building 2-8 on one side of the wall, cleared it, and it was so. And then on that side, what's it called? You could see murder holes, murder holes are like these tiny. They're like firing points that what's it called? I mean, we do the same thing in Iraq. So.
Think of like a castle that has like those little parapets that are on the side, those little holes that people would shoot out of. Those are the murder holes that he's talking about.
So we found murder holes on one side and then spent casings. So I think it was like 7.62 by 5.1 or something like that. Which most round, I think the Dragunov is 7.60 by 5.1 and also the PKM. Or no, I think PKM's 7.60 by 3.9.
I think whatever.
Yeah, so whatever. We found fucking rounds or spent casings on one side, so we knew that was like the known firing point, which we already fucking knew that going in there, but now it's like established, known firing point. So at the time, we decided to push out and then clear the other side of the building. Now, this is like the crazy part about like, so there was already what's it called? There was already a historic like breaching point on the other side of the compound we were going through. So there was already an established what's it called, entrance for us. Now going in there, we swept up to it. We fucking sent our what's it called?
Was this an actual like entrance built for the building?
No,
This was another hole in the wall.
It was another hole in the wall. So
okay.
It was either the Brits or 3-5 or 2-9 Echo, who had cleared and what's it called, pushed into that building at some point or another. We swept up to it. We fucking
when he says he swept up to it, he's talking about they used the metal detector kind of mine. Think of like the old school World War II minesweeper looking dude.
I think they call it Valams. We swept up with our Valams. And then from there we sent our working dog. Our working dogs are like their quote unquote like bomb sniffing dogs. Swept up. She didn't pick up anything, and then we even blew a line charge through the door. Like we took C4 line charge, tossed it through the entrance, detonated it, and for those of the people who don't know, like you'll throw a line charge through like what you think would be like a known like IED location, and the idea behind that is to set off what you call a sympathetic detonation, and so like you blow. Same thing that you would do like in a video game, right? If you think that there's like a fucking mine at a door for like Call of Duty, you'll roll a grenade and try to set that off,
or you shoot it. And,
exactly.
You try to blow it up before you step on it.
Yeah. So that's the idea behind that. So like going in, we were like, dude, we're clear. Like that's pretty.
Swept up to it. Dog said it was good. Threw a line charge in there. No sympathetic detonations from that. And
so we thought, I mean, dude, going in there is that specific area, especially that entrance. I thought we were good. I think I think I can say that most people stepping through that, once we did all those things, we were like, there's got to be nothing there. So at the time, so like I said, I was with Bo's fire team, and then I went with Webster. So Webster, I think, was first team leader. So Lance Corporal Webster, led his team up there, and him, and then John. So John Curtin was our radio operator he wasn't a radio man, but he was a radio operator for that platoon. So he was an 03 carrying a radio.
Okay.
So he had what's it called? What is it? The 117s? Big green ones?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you're using at the
PRC
time, but probably a 117.
Yeah. So John had a radio, and then I was in front of John, and then Lance Corporal Webster was in front of me. So we were at the tail end of the team clearing that building. What's it called? And so they only sent one fire team, obviously, to clear that building while the rest held security, moving to clear it. And then so we stepped up, swept up, and then started clearing it, moving forward. We were moving slow. It wasn't like, don't think of when we say like we were clearing the building because of the ID threat. We weren't clearing it like, I don't think like SEAL Team 6, like fucking running through compounds or whatever, or like moving sexily through compounds and like, slow, smooth as fast type of thing. Like we were clearing it more scared of the ID threat than we were of getting shot at type of thing, which was honestly most of the Sangin Valley for anyone who had been there.
Yeah.
So we were clearing it slowly, pushing forward. I think Hadel, who we were talking about before, Hadel was one of our engineers, and I think he was the one. I don't think Hadel was on that. Oh, Hadel came afterwards. My bad. So this is all super spotty for me. But so we were clearing forward. What's it called? Whoever was point man, I think it might have been Arp or Shaw. Whoever was point man thought they found something, right? Like an ID or something just looked kind of off. So what they did was they stopped, and at that point, most of us were in. We were already in the compound, and so they pushed.
Were you inside the building, or you were just inside the wall?
We were inside the building, quote unquote. So we were inside the building, and then there was a wall in front of us, and it banked left and then right into what's it called, which was like an open area into the rest of the compound. And then so from there, they were like, "Hey, we think we found something," so they pushed us out. So at this point, there was still an ID there. So at this point, it was like a doormat ID inside the building. So at this point, everyone in front of us had stepped over the ID, and then pushing out, Webster, myself, and Curtin stepped over it again. And then it was when they were like, "Hey, like you guys are good, come back in." We pushed back in, and then that's when the ID was initiated by John.
That's crazy, man. So swept up to the building, sent the dog up to the building, sent a line charge
through the building.
Half the team stepped over the ID, not knowing it was there.
Yeah.
And then stepped back over it coming out of the building. And then coming back in, that's when it finally got set off.
So this was
it a pressure plate ID?
So I want to say that they had reported it as a pressure plate, but that was the other thing that like I haven't honestly really talked to a lot of people about what they thought it was, because they threw a fucking line charge on that thing, and then maybe it was like buried or something at that point, and then the dirt had fucking disturbed the area around it, because I know like if it like freshly dug IDs, if you fucking dig it out and then toss fresh dirt on it and it rains, it cements and compacts over like the jug, and it'll take actually some of the fucking what's it called, initial it'll dampen like the initial explosion. So I'm not entirely sure like what the science is behind it, or like I'm sure like an EOD tech would be fucking more qualified to be like, "Hey, this is what happened." But I'm not sure if it was an ID or if it was an RC ID, a remote control ID or something like that. I mean, we had our Thor on, but fucking so
the Thor was like
so wishy-washy. Yeah,
around,
dude.
Man. So the IED was initiated. And then
so the ID was initiated, and at that time, I was rendered unconscious. John lost both his. I think John's. So I was talking to my buddy John, and John's. I'm pretty sure he said he was conscious the entire time, and which was insane because I'm pretty sure he hit the roof when he stepped on it. But he lost both his legs in the explosion. I took shrapnel to the left side of my face. Basically the left side of my body, and to my face, specifically like my eyes, or the left side of my eye. So
Were you wearing iPro?
I was wearing BCGs. So like BCGs, yeah.
You wear BCGs?
So for those of you who don't know, BCGs they call them like birth control glasses. They're the ugliest fucking glasses you can get, but it's boot camp issue.
Yeah.
So like they're like these big fucking actually, in all honesty, like these are probably like hipster glasses now. Like people would think I would be cool wearing.
They changed it. You no longer get the BCGs.
They're black now, right?
Yeah, now they're more hipster like.
Yeah.
So do you think the glasses saved your eyes?
Oh yeah, if I wasn't wearing, this is why like I will be like, yeah, if you guys go on combat deployments, if you guys fucking think you're gonna have an ID threat, fucking wear we're eye, bro. I fucking easily, I hands down think I would have lost my eye if I was not wearing eye, bro.
How far apart were you from, or how far apart was everybody when the IED actually was initiated?
Dude, we were close. Webster was fucking not even 5 feet in front of me. John was not fucking more than 5 feet behind me. We were close. We were real close. I don't know how much. I don't know how big the ID was. I'm not gonna. What's it called? I honestly have no idea how big the ID was. I remember someone telling me, but I'm not entirely sure. But obviously the ID was big enough to what's it called? To take John's legs and then obviously knock me out. And then Webster took shrapnel to his face as well, missed his eyes, so he looked out with that. But he had a fucking gnarly fucking shrapnel wound to his left leg. He had to get like a fasciotomy, or basically compartment syndrome. So I was rendered unconscious. Like I was fucking knocked out. When they had what's it called, moved us to like our CCP,
which is what,
our casualty collection point. So I was so like, I got rendered unconscious and I had like short-term amnesia. Like I woke up and I had no idea where the fuck I was. And it wasn't until like they started moving me to the CCP that I started like piecing things back together. But like so John lost both his legs, and then let's say Scupion and Shaw. So Scupion was a 51, and I want to say like those were the dudes who put the tourniquets on John, hands down. So this is why like cross training in the military, especially in the infantry, it's got to be a thing, and it should be a fucking thing. Like medical shouldn't be fucking something that like only the fucking only the CLS Marines do. Like medical, especially fucking tourniquet drills. Like those are some things like everyone should be comfortable doing, because had we been further from like our like the attack where it happened, we were not even like a click out. We were maybe a click out. We were not that far from a patrol base. When that attack happened, 4th Squad lost their team leader, their radio operator, and their corpsman in one blast. So that that's at that point when we got hit, that's a mass gas.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're combat ineffective too, because now you've lost communications and your leadership.
But we lucked out like being that close.
So were you the only 3 casualties from that?
Yeah. So from there, and then so we got hit, and then shortly afterwards it was what's it called? I'm pretty sure it was a U-shaped ambush. But we took contact afterwards.